Thanks for being with us here on Live Now from Fox. I'm your host, Christina Evans. We do want to continue on with some of these top stories that we've been following this week. And you may have heard the news. I brought it to you as breaking news just yesterday, as we're still now learning more information. This after former FBI Director James Comey was indicted on federal charges. And so ultimately, it was yesterday evening in that Virginia federal courtroom that he was charged with making false statements to Congress and obstructing its investigation of the Russia probe. This is all according to some of those court documents. And so this indictment of the former FBI director is unprecedented and the culmination of a years-long feud between Comey and President Trump. And so to talk a lot more about this indictment, what it means and what we could potentially be seeing here, I want to bring into the conversation legal analyst Jeremy Rosenthal. Hey, Jeremy, thanks so much for being with us here on Live Now from Fox. This indictment was one that many people had been waiting on for several weeks. As we know, the president had been talking a lot behind the scenes and in front of the camera about his desire to have Comey indicted. But with these charges, again, what are you seeing here as this has now officially been filed in court?
As far as federal indictments go, this is very bare bones. Normally when we're looking at federal indictments, when we see Senator Mendez, that was a 66-page indictment. When we look at P. Diddy Combs, we're looking at 15 pages, 20 pages. This is a page and a half. So it's pled very, very simply. Normally when you see the feds plead an indictment, normally it is paragraph on paragraph on paragraph, and they really spell out with a lot of detail and a lot of particularity the charges, the incidents, all the evidence that really points to it. And really a lot of times it's sort of calculated to have the person who is being charged almost sort of be intimidated to kind of knuckle under. This is a page and a half at most. Legally, it's probably sufficient. But I think what we've seen is that Mr. Comey is basically kind of sort of said challenge accepted. He's already referenced going to trial. I'll be looking to see if he invokes the Federal Speedy Trial Act. If it is not a complicated or complex case, which I don't know that it is, he's got a right to a trial within 70 days. And I think it's probably going to be his goal to really hit back, to come out swinging, to see if he's able to hit the administration in the mush, if you will. And really, I think it might be his goal to try to embarrass the administration.
It'll certainly be interesting, and he's already responding. Of course, this bombshell announcement, it didn't take him long to get on Instagram and make a brief statement. It's about 50 seconds long. I want to play it out for folks who haven't heard it at home and also get your response to what Comey had to say.
My family and I have known for years that there are costs to standing up to Donald Trump, but we couldn't imagine ourselves living any other way. We will not live on our knees, and you shouldn't either. Somebody that I love dearly recently said that fear is the tool of a tyrant, and she's right. But I'm not afraid, and I hope you're not either. I hope instead you are engaged, you are paying attention, and you will vote like your beloved country depends upon it, which it does. My heart is broken for the Department of Justice, but I have great confidence in the federal judicial system, and I'm innocent. So let's have a trial and keep the...
All right, folks, heard it there. And just as you said, he said, let's have a trial. I'm innocent. Pretty powerful words for Comey to say. What do you think about his confidence going into this? Why is it that he can say so boldly, I'm innocent, and go ahead and talk about potentially going to trial?
Look, by all indications here, this is not a very strong punch from the federal government. We see when the feds do indict people, and we see when they are when they do throw a really strong punch, right? And we see it all the time. We see Hunter Biden when they call witness after witness after witness. We see in case after case, P. Diddy, when they come at defendants, when they come at criminal conspiracies in waves. Here, you had a special prosecutor last year that actually cleared James Comey of these charges. You've had multiple line prosecutors that have essentially begged the Department of Justice not to go forward with this. You had Donald Trump's own appointee in the Eastern District of Virginia tell him not to do it. And really at the last minute, before the statute of limitations runs, Donald Trump appoints Lindsey Halligan to be the Eastern District U.S. Attorney, somebody who I've not heard has any kind of criminal experience, that this is an insurance lawyer. And when they come out, the indictment looks like a rush job. It just kind of does. And there are all sorts of defenses to perjury. Perjury can be either extremely easy to prove or it can be extremely hard to prove. It's easy to prove in an instance where one person has made multiple statements under oath, and all you have to prove is both can't be true at the same time. But you have the defense here, and I think what Mr. Comey's defense is going to be is, number one, this isn't true. Number two, if it's not true, I didn't know it was not true at the time that I said it. Or other defenses to perjury can be, I forgot. I didn't understand the question. I didn't mean to lie. I didn't mean to deceive. And not only that, on top of that, it's got to be what's called material to the controversy at hand. When we go back and we look at Bill Clinton and his statement about Monica Lewinsky that was in a deposition, the issue was, is it material to the matter at hand? Now, and that's just another way of saying that if James Comey is under oath and he testifies that the sky is blue and they go outside and it's actually nighttime, in that instance, it may not be necessarily material. And juries understand, there's an intuitive sense amongst jurors. They know what's at stake in a lot of these things, and they know that the government could very well try to put this individual in a cage, in jail for this. And if it's such a trivial misunderstanding, then they're really not going to do it. People disagree about testimony in court in every single trial that you're ever going to see. That doesn't make it perjury. Perjury is when you can demonstratively show that somebody lied on purpose to mislead some sort of body, and that's a very high standard to prove. And Mr. Comey is obviously projecting a lot of confidence that the government's not going to be able to do that here.
The burden of proof is set in this case, as Jeremy was just saying. I want to put this up on the screen as well, putting up some of the responses that we've seen from other government officials. Of course, Attorney General Pam Bondi saying, quote, "No one is above the law. Today's indictment reflects this Department of Justice's commitment to holding those who abuse positions of power accountable for misleading the American people. We will follow the facts in this case." Also hearing from Kash Patel, the FBI director, he had a statement that he also put on his X account as this indictment was coming out yesterday, saying, "Today, your FBI took another step in its promise to of full accountability. For far too long, previous corrupt leadership and their enablers weaponized federal law enforcement, damaging once proud institutions and severely eroding public trust. Every day, we continue the fight to earn that trust back. And under my leadership, this FBI will confront the problem head on. Nowhere was this politicization of law enforcement more blatant than during the Russiagate hoax, a disgraceful chapter in history we will continue to investigate and expose. Everyone, especially those in positions of power, will be held to account, no matter their perch. No one is above the law." And so, again, very lengthy statement from him as well. Are you expecting this sort of response from the FBI director, being that they've been waiting to make this indictment? Of course, a lot of people are wondering what's behind this. We do know that Comey was in a very public dispute with President Trump, and Attorney General Pam Bondi had been saying that this is something that the Justice Department had wanted to bring for quite some time.
Look, there was a grand jury that found enough evidence here to issue a true bill for an indictment. So for all the criticism of the administration on this, at least they were able to secure an indictment. That's not always the case. A grand jury is technically independent. And there have been grand juries who've told this administration no on different charges. My understanding is that they told this administration no on different charges with regards to Mr. Comey. And yes, look, if I'm prosecuting this case, I'm giving Mr. Comey his day in court. I'm giving him the opportunity to clear his name, and also I'm also making clear to the jurors in the case that, look, we take our responsibility very seriously, and we accept the burden of proof in these cases is proof beyond a reasonable doubt, and show the jury all the facts and let the jury decide. That if I'm prosecuting it again, that's how I do it. Mr. Comey has also made clear how he's going to defend the case, and that's going to be very aggressively, as we saw with that video alone. I don't expect a lot of motion practice out of this. I don't expect motions, what are called motions to quash or motions to dismiss in this case, although you could certainly argue that. There's a certain motion you can file for a motion to dismiss for what's called vindictive prosecution. That is, if you feel like you're being retaliated by the government for you exercising your constitutional rights, you can try to do that. The problem with that is that gets kind of trapped up in the courts, and I think Mr. Comey is wanting to act really swiftly here and to sort of clear his name in a really aggressive and emphatic manner. Now, it's one thing for everybody else around Mr. Comey to talk tough. It's him that's on the line, and it's his family that's sort of paying the real price here, because being under federal indictment is simply no fun. So we'll see kind of the steps that they take. We'll see if there's these types of motions, but this is definitely shaping up to be a really hard battle in federal court for both of these parties.
I'm glad you brought up court. So I want to talk about the date that's already set. So we do know that the U.S. District Judge has set an arraignment there in the Eastern District of Virginia on October 9th. This is per some of those court documents that were released. I have to ask you, Jeremy, what are we expecting to see at those initial court dates? Anything special that really could come out of that? We heard about, you talked about some of those motions that could be filed, but is that what we're expecting on October 9th?
From Mr. Comey's team, potentially somewhat near that date. The Speedy Trial Act can be triggered either through indictment or through the date of the arrest. I don't anticipate that Mr. Comey is going to be detained pre-trial. The magistrate has the ability to either detain people or not detain them. This would not be a situation where I would expect that he would be detained. Donald Trump was not detained for pretrial. Sean P. Diddy Combs was detained, obviously, because of the threat and the nature of the charges against him. This is this type of a charge. I don't think that he's going to be detained with it, and you could potentially see some scheduling sort of down the line that happens on that October 9th date. And again, we'll get a really good indication exactly how Mr. Comey is planning on defending this. Is there going to be a lot of significant motion practice? Is he just going to say, bring it, let's go have a trial? One of the benefits to filing certain motions in this case is that they waited really until the very end of the statute of limitations to bring this case. If you're able to do what's called quashing the subpoena or setting it aside, if you will, if you're able to do that, the statute would continue potentially to run, and it doesn't have to run very long for you to be sort of out of jeopardy in given the allegations here. So it'll be interesting to see sort of what tactics his lawyers take here.
It'll be certainly something that we're watching here on Live Now from Fox. And so, as always, we appreciate legal analyst Jeremy Rosenthal for being with us to break down the very latest. Anything else you think that's super special about this case that might jump out and something that we need to pay attention to?
Again, kind of going back to this, one thing that we see a lot of motions. We see a lot of legal fighting back and forth. If I'm James Comey, I don't know that I want this to go into the appeals courts. I don't know that I want to file some preliminary motions. If they're granted, then you're sort of stuck in this appellate land, which hangs over your head for a year or 2 years, and then we sort of revisit this in a while. It sounds to me, based on his statement, that he wants his trial and he wants it now. And I think that sets up for a very quick showdown in this case.
Very quick showdown. We'll see if that prediction is right. Again, as always, we appreciate legal analyst Jeremy Rosenthal for being with us here on Live Now from Fox.
Thank you.